It was just after sunset when they entered the shaded woods. The warm orange glow of the dying day had slipped behind the horizon, leaving an eerie twilight to settle in. A group of 5 travelers, all strangers to one another, had unknowingly found themselves at the edge of the dense forest. They were on a road trip, seeking adventure, nothing too serious, just a break from their daily lives. But something in the air felt wrong, like the woods themselves were watching them. "I thought the map said there was a campsite this way," Sarah said, squinting at her phone as the GPS flickered and died. She cursed under her breath and shoved it back in her pocket. "You're not getting a signal out here," said Derek, a tall man with a dark, heavy beard. He had the air of someone who'd been lost more times than he cared to admit. "We're in the middle of nowhere." "Great," Rachel muttered, glancing nervously at the growing shadows. She was a city girl, not used to the deep silence of the forest. "Let's just turn around and head back to the main road." "No," said Henry, the oldest of the group. He had been leading the charge through the woods, his face set with determination. "We came here to get away, to explore. Let's go a little farther. We'll find the campsite soon enough." They continued onward, the trees thickening as they walked deeper into the forest. The ground was uneven, covered in roots and fallen branches, and the air grew colder with each step. Despite the growing discomfort, none of them turned back. The desire to find their destination kept them going, even as the sun completely disappeared and the forest was plunged into darkness. Then it happened. At first, it was just a flicker of light, a soft, almost imperceptible glow from the distance. But as they approached, the glow grew brighter, sharper. Small, warm orbs of light swayed in the darkness like lanterns. The trees around them seemed to part, revealing a wide clearing. There, standing in the center, were figures draped in long cloaks, their faces obscured by the hoods, each holding a lantern that cast a steady, golden light. The travelers stopped in their tracks. There was something about the figures that felt wrong, unnatural. The lanterns swung gently, but no wind was stirring the air. The glow they cast was too steady, too unmoving, as though the light itself was frozen in time. "Who are they?" Rachel whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Henry said, his voice low. "But they're not normal." Derek squinted, trying to make sense of the scene. "Maybe they're just people like us, lost out here." "Maybe," Sarah said. But she didn't sound convinced. The figures didn't move. They just stood there, waiting, as though expecting something from the travelers. The silence between them stretched out, thick and suffocating. Then one of the figures, a tall woman with a lantern glowing brightly in her hand, took a slow step forward. Her eyes, hidden under the hood, seemed to burn with an unnatural light. "You should turn back," she said, her voice soft but carrying. "This is not a place for those who do not understand." The travelers looked at each other, confusion mixing with fear. "What do you mean?" Henry asked, taking a step toward her. His curiosity seemed to outweigh his caution. "We're just looking for a campsite. You will not find it here," the woman replied, her voice tinged with sadness. "You will find only what you are meant to find. The woods choose who stays and who leaves." Before any of them could respond, the ground seemed to shift beneath their feet. A low hum began to fill the air, as if the trees themselves were alive, whispering in a language none of them could understand. One of the cloaked figures stepped forward, his lantern now shining brighter than the rest. "It is too late for you to turn back," he said, his voice deep and gravelly. "You have entered the woods. The lanterns choose those who remain." Suddenly, the travelers felt a heavy weight on their chests. The air felt thick, oppressive, as though something was pulling at them from within the trees. The light of the lanterns seemed to draw them in, like moths to a flame. They wanted to leave, to run back the way they came, but their bodies refused to move. They were paralyzed by the weight of the air, by the pull of the lanterns. "Get away from them," Sarah cried, struggling to break free from whatever force was holding her in place. "We have to leave." But her voice was drowned out by the hum of the forest, growing louder, more urgent. The lantern bearers raised their lights higher, and the air shimmered with an otherworldly energy. One by one, the figures turned and began to move, their footsteps slow and deliberate, guiding the travelers deeper into the forest. The lanterns illuminated the path ahead, though the forest itself seemed darker, more sinister than ever. "We can't stop it," Derek said, his voice barely above a whisper. Henry clenched his fists. "What is this? What are we supposed to do?" The woman with the lantern approached him, her head tilting slightly as though studying him. "Survive if you can." The other figures continued to lead the group onward, though the trees now closed in tightly as if they were walking through a maze. The path seemed to stretch endlessly before them, each step deeper into the woods only drawing them farther from the world they knew. And then, as they neared a clearing, a cold realization hit. They weren't just being guided by the lantern bearers, they were being tested. For the lantern bearers did not only guide the lost, they judged them. The travelers were not just visitors to the woods. They were part of the forest now, and each would be forced to face their own darkness, their own secrets. And only one would be allowed to leave. As the light of the lanterns flickered and the forest closed around them, they knew one truth with terrifying clarity. The lantern bearers had come for them. And by dawn, there would be only one who walked out of the woods alive.